Welcome back to ECE 207. I am entitling this short video Reading the Textbook just to give you a strategy that maybe you haven't thought about, and this may be helpful for you in pursuing this class and subsequent classes. It's really trying to make you as efficient as possible in studying and learning this new material. The textbook is Electrical Engineering, Principles and Applications, the 6th edition by Hambly, and that was published in 2014 by Pearson. The cover of the book, which you will have access to the e-text, has a cute little picture on it, and this is now actually a camera that is possibly filming this cute little guy in his more natural environment, and they've now camouflaged that or tried to make that a little bit more friendly to that possibly more intimidating animal. In terms of reading the textbook, the main thing that I would say is you don't have to go from page 1 all the way to the end. You can read a textbook in a non-linear fashion, and it's okay to jump to the end to spoil the ending. The main goal is to learn the material, and if you jump to the back and look at what's coming or what's going to happen in the future, that's completely fine, and that actually might help you learn a little bit more effectively as you're reading the material. In particular, maybe what you will do, let's say that you're now starting in chapter 1 and you now go to the introduction of chapter 1. There in this class, you will see that there are some outcomes that studying this particular chapter suggests that you should be capable of doing when you finish the class or this particular chapter. That's what I'm meaning by look at the objectives. You might then, after looking at that, actually say, well, what is going to be the result of this? And you might then go to the very back of the chapter and look at the summary. And now this is going to tell you what you should be learning as you read and study the contents of chapter 1. And this will then put you on alert when you then are hitting that particular material, when you're working through those sections more directly. After you've looked at the objectives and the summary, you might look at what homework problems have been assigned in that particular chapter. You would then possibly then go back to the book and start maybe just looking at it from a more holistic perspective, just browse through and looking at some of the figures, some of the tables, what is the material that you're going to be looking at, just getting a 30,000 foot view of what is contained in this chapter. And in this one, this is just the first chapter of the book. You can see that you're going to be learning some of these fundamental concepts in electrical engineering, which are currents and voltages, and that actually may have relevance to many different everyday systems, and in particular here is an automobile that they're illustrating these concepts with. Once you've looked at the chapter from a very high perspective, then you will want to identify, relative to those homework problems, what sections those homework problems were associated with. For example, if you now go back to the problems, you will see that these first 4 problems are associated with section 1.1, which means if I had assigned problem 1.3, you'll want to make sure that you are studying section 1.1, and this asterisk means that that particular problem, the solution or the answer to that problem, is available in the student solution files, and you can refer to Appendix E, which this now links you to Appendix E on how to access those. And if you want to go back to where you were, you can then go back to the last page visited up in the upper left-hand corner, and now that takes us back to this first page of the problem section where it was linking to Appendix E. Once you've now identified the sections that you need to study, go ahead and read those actively with paper, pencil, and calculator. You're now trying to follow along and understand what it is that's being discussed in each of those particular sections that you need to become comfortable with based on the homework problems that have been assigned. You also might want to work through the exercises. If you look through this particular book, they do provide exercises with answers, and these exercises are typically following a previously looked at example. In this case, we're near the end of chapter 1. They work through example 1.7. That is then immediately followed by some of these exercises, and it's a good idea to make sure that you can work these exercises and obtain the answers that are indicated with those exercises themselves. And in this class, I'm actually going to assign some exercises, and you will then have access to the answers, which, again, in some cases, some of these problems that I may assign, like if I assigned problem 7 in the end of chapter 1, its answer will be available to you in the student solution files. That then gives you a very brief way of thinking about how you might read this textbook. It's not necessarily linear. You may be jumping back and forth, but then when you do identify the sections of interest, you will want to work through those in an active fashion and be comfortable with that material. I hope this helps. Good luck in this class and in subsequent classes.